Thank you, everybody, for coming to the College Football Betting with Aaron Torres YouTube channel. Before we get to the video that you came here for, if you could do me one quick favor, just click that subscribe button at the bottom of the screen. Really does help our channel grow, our audience grow. I appreciate it more than you know. Also, if you want to, click the little bell notification so you know anytime any of our previews go live. We appreciate your support. Now, here's the video that you came here for. USC at Notre Dame. USC with the win over Michigan. This is now a top 20 matchup. Notre Dame has very quietly been playing very good football. Notre Dame, a 10-point favorite, according to the Circa Sportsbook. Notre Dame, or USC, getting no respect for that win over Michigan last week. The over-under in this game set at 62. This will be a night game in South Bend, NBC. So let's go ahead and dive in. I think, first of all, and I mentioned this off the top for people who are watching the clip, this is cool. And this is cool because it's not only a great rivalry, but as I said to lead the show, I am somebody that didn't necessarily love the concept of a 12-team college football playoff, but the 12-team college football playoff, 8 more spots, it gives so many more games meaning here in late September, early October, right? If Notre Dame had lost 2 games to start the season, their season's over. USC loses to Illinois, you like them, but they still have to play at Oregon later in the year, and you're saying, okay, they're a playoff contender, but are they really? Well, now guess what? USC Michigan last week was a de facto playoff game. Both teams were 5-1. USC wins that game. Now they come to Notre Dame. This is essentially a de facto playoff game as well. And it's worth noting this. If USC wins this game, bye and then at Nebraska, which could be a playoff game as well. So it's a fun kind of just thought exercise, if you will. As far as the game itself, I actually do want to start with Notre Dame. And I want to go ahead and give them some credit, right? Because a couple things stand out about Notre Dame and about this game. The first thing that stands out, listen, I just said it and I stand by it, and I think it was the right opinion in the moment. When Notre Dame lost those 2 games to start the season, I think we all kind of left them for dead following the 3-point loss at Miami on Labor Day weekend and then the 1-point loss to Texas A&M at home. And what we all said is 0-2, are you going to be able to overcome it? Even if you go 10-0 from there, are there enough good wins on the schedule to impress the committee? Well, we're going to find out all of that. But what seems increasingly obvious, those 2 wins increasingly are looking, or those 2 losses, are increasingly looking better and better. Now, I know this is college football. I know we're not supposed to celebrate close losses. There's no such thing as a moral victory in college football, okay? But my counter to that is pretty straightforward. The 2 losses that Notre Dame has so far this season to 2 teams that are both undefeated, a combined 12-0 to start the season. Both are currently ranked in the top 5. Miami, I think it would take something shocking if they're not in the playoff, potentially as a number 1 seed. A&M, the schedule does get a little bit tougher. We'll talk about them later. But A&M, in an SEC where there's a lot of teams with a lot of flaws, A&M all of a sudden is a team that you could see in the playoff as well. And so those wins keep getting better for Notre Dame. I think we talked about it on the Aaron Torres pod after the Texas A&M loss. Notre Dame has to be fans of Miami and Texas A&M. Well, Notre Dame fans watching the Aggies and the Hurricanes have had a lot to root for, but also lost in that is that I think Notre Dame has quietly been much better, a lot better actually, over the course of the last couple weeks since that second loss. First of all, offensively, CJ Carr, listen, I don't do the NFL draft stuff, especially, by the way, for guys that are not, but people are already talking about CJ Carr, one of the better quarterbacks in college football this year, a future NFL draft prospect. He has been playing lights out, 13 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, 67% completion percentage. And oh, by the way, in this 4-game win streak that Notre Dame is currently on, how about this? 10 touchdowns, 1 interception, the only interception coming last week against North Carolina State, one that ultimately didn't matter. The run game for Notre Dame, I'll give them credit. Again, I think this time of year, it's important to statistically understand who teams are and what they are and how 1 or 2 games could skew kind of the total stats. And what I mean by that is this, is that Notre Dame basically could not run the ball against Miami, Well, in hindsight, it's because Miami probably has the best defensive line in all of college football, okay? And so in that game, Notre Dame rushed the ball, only rushed for 93 yards on 28 carries, 3.3 yards per carry. So statistically, they don't look like a great rushing team. Well, you take out the Miami game, and I know you can't take it out, but if you did, they're trending to more like a top 25, top 30 run offense in America, much more than a top 50 or so offense. And so I just bring it up because much improved run game, much improved quarterback. But here's the crazy part. You go back to week 1 and week 2, gave up a lot of points and a lot of yards in those 2 games. The defense has been unbelievable really since about week 3. Week 3, they did struggle against Purdue. Last 3 weeks, in what was obviously Sam Pittman's final game at Arkansas, they hold Arkansas, one of the best offenses in college football, to 13 points. Boise State, I don't know if people realize this, Boise State is a top 25 offense. Notre Dame held them to 7 points in a win in South Bend a few weeks ago. And then, oh, by the way, let's not forget also about the fact that NC State came in as about a top 40 or so offense, and Notre Dame held them to 7 points as well. So that's the important part. Defense is much improved. Offense, run game is probably more improved than people realize. And CJ Carr, as the kids say, he's got that dog in him. As far as USC is concerned, let's credit where it's due, man. Listen, everybody wants to throw dirt on the grave of Lincoln Riley. And I think it's justifiable to say that things have not gone as well as I think many of us expected them to through, this is now year 4 for him. But for the first time, I think in this USC era. Now, year 1, Caleb Williams won the Heisman Trophy, but that was kind of a Caleb Williams, Jordan Addison thing where they really weren't as balanced. The O-line wasn't that good. The run game wasn't really that good. This offense for USC is humming at the highest levels in college football. Number 3 scoring offense, 45 points per game. Number 2 pass offense. But the biggest difference to me is the line play and the run game. This is a team that coming into this game has a top 20 rush offense overall. And we brought up this stat last week, but USC's O-line is actually holding up very well. That's been the biggest complaint. Lincoln Riley, why can he not figure out the O-line? He keeps bringing in these portal kids. It doesn't really work. Well, USC right now, top 10 in the country in fewest sacks allowed, only 4 sacks allowed through 6 games this season. Only Ohio State in the Big Ten is better. And we mentioned this one as well. TFLs for loss allowed. They are in the top 15 nationally in the country in that category as well. So the O-line is holding up well. The run game is holding up well. You know, transparently, the defense could probably be a little bit better. And so that brings us to our pick for this game. Defense needs to be better at USC. And I'll say this, I've gone back and forth on USC plus the points. I've gone back and forth on the over-under. I do think I am going to take USC plus the points, though, plus 10 in the Circa Sportsbook. That is my official USC pick. I thought about taking the over. I'll be transparent. 62 points is a lot of points, though. I mean, if you think about it, right? If we think this Notre Dame defense is improved over the last couple weeks, you know, USC is basically going to have to score 30 to hit that over, and they still might. But when I look at USC, what I would say is this. I understand why there is still skepticism. I understand why there are still questions about this team. And even last week against Michigan, I think you can kind of pick apart that performance. You know, Sharon Moore, the Michigan head coach, is under fire because he's not letting Bryce Underwood loose. And then conversely, in that game, it's also worth noting that Justice Haynes, USC's best running back, or no, Michigan's best running back in that game, got injured. And because he got injured, did not play the back half of the game, and that really stymied the Michigan offense. So if you want to argue that this USC offense or USC defense still has a lot to prove, that's fine. But to me, the offense is really operating at a pretty high level. And again, I just look at this offense and I find it hard to see a world where you're just completely shutting them down. And when we're talking about a 10-point spread, I mean, I was blown away. Like, I thought the spread would be 6, 6.5, something like that. When it's 10, and maybe I'm dead wrong. I've gotten plenty of picks wrong this year, no doubt about it. But 10 points for a USC offense that has moved the ball the way that it is just feels like a ton. If Notre Dame holds USC, if they win by double figures, then that means that Notre Dame probably now has one of the top 10 defenses in college football. I'm not there yet. Now, I worry a little bit about the USC defense, especially against the pass, but it's also worth noting Notre Dame's defense has not been great against the pass either, 106th nationally. Now, you could argue part of it is two really good quarterbacks early, Carson Beck, Marcel Reed, and then the last 4 games or so, a lot of teams that are down late having to pass the ball. I get that argument, but the 106th ranked pass defense in college football against the 3rd ranked pass offense in college football, I think Maiava is able to move the ball. I worry a little bit about the run game. Obviously, I think I should have mentioned this early. I did not. Wayman Jordan, who has been USC's best running back, out for an extended period of time with an ankle injury. Of course, King Miller, the freshman, comes off the bench last week with 158 yards in that game. And it's worth noting, he has shown flashes before that game. So it's not like he hasn't had experience, playing college football. So go ahead and give me USC to cover the 10. I'll say somewhere in the neighborhood of 31 to 27. Notre Dame gets the win at home. And I think because how much Notre Dame wants to run the ball, and I think because of how much USC wants to run the ball, I worry a little bit about the over. 31-27 will be right on the cusp. Anyway, I like USC plus the points in this game. Give me USC plus 10.